From the very beginning of our journey here at Jaipur, we have spoken and discussed about the paths that we as humans should take out of the crossroads that is AI's implication. About the choices that we must make to ensure that our younger generations can survive and thrive in a future completely different from the present that we know. Our younger generations. While it is the responsibility of all educational leaders to make decisions for the benefits of the students that they represent, it is good to hear once in a while from a student. So, to invite someone from the younger generations whose life we here hope to improve and to get her view on the statement, the current school curriculum fails to prepare students for future job markets, we would like to invite to the stage Ms. Srina Bose.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I recently gave my 10th grade board examinations. Yes, that dreaded life event. I call it a life event because of the immense importance we give to this exam. The entirety of last year, which is my board year as we like to call it, was spent being surrounded by a bunch of nervous, anxious, distressed, and frankly speaking, unhappy students at all times. And I won't lie, I was one of them. We were stuck in an endless cycle of examinations, MCQ tests every other week, unit tests every other month, midterms, pre-boards, some schools even had 2 pre-boards, and then finally the board exams and that dreaded wait. The wait after which our exam results determined our social standing. I also saw some of my senior friends in 12th grade who were managing these board exams as well as preparing for their competitive exams, for JEE, for NEET, for the SATs and APs that may get them abroad, for the Ashoka aptitude test, for QET and whatnot. They were doing all of that together, or they were trying to. Spoiler alert, it wasn't working out too well. We were stuck in a rat race for a 95%. I would say 5 or 10 years back, maybe the benchmark was a 90%, or even like 85% above. But dear friends, educators, teachers, I'd like to tell you, the benchmark has changed. 95% is now the bare minimum that the average student is supposed to strive towards. It's easy, it's doable. With inflation, every student can get a 95%, right? That's what we're told from day one. Then we entered 11th grade. 11th grade is a vital point in our school journey, because that's when you choose streams, your subject choices, a subject that you're stuck with throughout your life, so choose wisely, choose precisely. And I came across a lot of students with a lot of different personal dilemmas. One student wanted to do biology with political science. Another wanted to do geography with physics, which if you think about it for like 2 seconds is basically climate science. But because of the rigidity of our education system, they were unable to do so. Our system is constructed in such a way that we become one-dimensional students from day one. A humanities student is a humanities student alone, there's nothing more to it. Their career choices are carefully carved out by the judgmental uncles and aunties of our society in form of their unsolicited advice. It's always unsolicited, keep in mind. We never ask them, they tell us anyways. They tell us it's civil services or law, period, nothing more. If you're a science student, you are either doing engineering or medicine, period. There's nothing more to it. That is what we have been reduced to. This reminds me of Yuval Noah Harari and his prediction of the future job market. And I believe oftentimes we as young students are extremely gullible about our personal career choices. We want to do big things, but we forget that 10 years down the line, these big things may not even exist. They're either going to be transformed by AI totally, so we'll be working alongside it, alongside AI, or they won't exist at all. This lack of interdisciplinary education does not prepare us for the future that awaits us. And I personally believe that amidst this race that we are running against AI, there are a few areas where I personally think humans are still better. And I may regret saying this because at the pace AI is moving, they can outdo us anytime. But 2 things which I personally believe humans are still doing better than AI. Number 1, creativity. And number 2, critical thinking. So you may assume that our education system should do everything possible to preserve these 2 areas, to ensure that our students can utilize and kind of leverage these 2 areas in order to beat AI, right? So we should encourage critical thinking and creativity in our system. But are we? From day one, we have been taught what to think and never ever how to think. We may be studying democracy in our political science classrooms. We envision democracy at the macro level, the Indian democracy, world democracy, but the classroom in itself is inherently undemocratic. Our voices were never ever heard, or they never ever mattered. And I know educators here, they may disagree with me, but we were never told it matters. Like, how rarely do we have discussions in our classrooms where we're asked from our teachers to share our opinions? Never, because firstly, we were never taught how to develop those opinions. Secondly, we never learned the fact that we can actually share these opinions in the classroom. Now I'll share a few examples of the discrepancy that exists between the on-paper provisions, the on-theory provisions that our system has, and the differences on the on-ground reality. Number one, research. Research is an incredibly important skill that's important in our university, in college, in careers later on. And our CBSE, I'm from a CBSE school, we have provisions for research. We're supposed to do a research project in 11th grade, in 12th grade, in sociology it's a 2-year project, in history it's a 1-year project, every subject has one. So you would think that this project encourages us to think as researchers, to critically analyze what the researchers of the past said, to deduce something of our own, to come up with something of our own, to think like researchers, right? No, that's not what we're doing. We are using ChatGPT, we are using Wikipedia, and we're calling it literature review. That's step number one. And the worst thing we're doing is we're outsourcing our research to some company. We're paying a couple $1,000, telling them to put a few fancy ribbons and use some colored pencils, and then we go submit that to our board invigilator. That's what we're doing. That's research. Research is not being carried out of a pursuit of knowledge. Instead, it's being done because we have a CBSE board invigilator who's waiting for a project. That's what research is. Let's talk about business. There might be a student who's interested in pursuing business and starting a startup. They're studying business studies in school. The textbook has a lot of theory about how to start a business, how to scale a business, etc., etc. Do they have the entrepreneurial knack to innovate, to question the status quo? No, the textbook never encourages that. Let's talk about vocational studies. Till this date, I think our curriculum just fails to realize that there are people out here who don't want to do the conventional doctor, lawyer, engineer thing. Frankly speaking, they do not have the resources to do the doctor, lawyer, engineer thing. In order for them to sustain themselves, they need vocational training, and they need vocational courses, which our curriculum simply fails to provide. We are currently living in an incredibly politically sensitive environment. Everything you say can offend someone, and anything you say can be used against you at any time. Our textbooks are not politically sensitive. We're still using he pronouns in areas where gender neutrality would have been better. Current affairs and general knowledge is severely lacking because right now we are not just citizens of India, we are global citizens. We may be studying in Jaipur or Delhi, but we'll pursue our masters abroad. We'll work in our dream MNC abroad. Ask a person, a student, who the prime minister is, they'll answer, but they will not know who the MP or MLA of their district is. That's what the reality is. There's a severe political disconnect that the student has from their local affairs. How are they going to manage in the future? So another example that I want to throw at you all is about the language that we use in our textbooks itself. The language and how that affects a student and their ability to relate with the content. I want to ask you all, in our 10th grade mathematics textbook, why do we still have an example of a lattu and calculating the volume and surface area of the cone and the hemisphere when the average Indian child does not play with the lattu in today's day and age? Why do we not reform the examples we use, the theory we use, the stories we use, so that it's easy for the student to relate with the textbook and to absorb the matter easily? A lot of the concerns I have raised today are going to be addressed by the new education policy, which is a great step in the right direction. A lot of it, interdisciplinary education, tech-based learning. Oh, and tech-based learning. I am very, very impressed by the fact that a lot of the educators present here, they've come to a collective consensus that we have to work alongside AI. Outside of the conference, I just come across a lot of people who are really scared of AI and they mask that fear with disgust. So it's very refreshing to see people with a new mindset here. So thank you so much for that. But NEP addresses a lot of the concerns that I raised. But I want to end with this note. Changing the system and changing the structure in place will only go a certain way. we have to change our mindset first. Go beyond the textbook, go beyond rote learning, go beyond your 10th grade board marks, for God's sake, because that was never a clear indicator of your intelligence. Go beyond the stereotypes constructed by those stereotypical uncles and aunties that humanities is for dumb students, science is for smart students, and commerce is for students who have fathers who are businessmen. Please get over that. These borders and boundaries we have constructed in our mind, reforming that is much more difficult than reforming the system. That is our first step in order for us to achieve the future of our dreams, the career of our dreams, and that's going to require a long, long way and a lot of effort. So we should start today. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much.